All right. So if you stuck with us this far, you're at the best part of the training. At least in my eyes, the wrap up is always my favorite. Okay, let's start with the summary. End of year one requires the SYNC, the SIRS, and the SOFT. That's your student discipline. The STAS for absenteeism. The student programs, right, for homeless and also for program participation. The LEAP file, which is your extended learning, your LEA program file. The CELA file, which helps you submit those RFEP students, the students that should have reclassified, and your student enrollment that will give you ownership of all the records. That will give you ownership of all the student records as well as determine the cumulative enrollment. End of year one requires SELPA approval. Don't forget that. The data in end of year one is reflective of the entire academic year. This is also true of end of year two. Check the CAR certification prior to the deadline. So the Cert 97 identifies if you have a issue with the CARs, right? If you haven't appropriately identified those school-wide programs. The problem being that it's a certification error, you will not see this until the snapshot begins in May. But you can check your CARs and verify that you've identified all, you not only verify, but you certified all the schools that are running school-wide programs. If you've running school-wide programs and you certify that in CARS, you're good to go. Review the 24-25 summative scores for reclassification during this year. And make sure that all homeless records are closed out this year, right? So we've introduced 3 validation errors that will help you identify those records. Continuing on with the summary, focusing on end of year two. End of year two requires the staff demographic, the course, the student course completion, the student career technical education, the wobbler or the work-based learning, and student enrollment records to be posted. Course completion data is required for students in departmentalized classroom settings, grade 9 through 12. It is optional for 7th and 8th grades, but I do not recommend you submit that data. Grades and credits completed, credits earned, and Carnegie units are required for grades 9 through 12 as well. That would be submitted in the student course completion file. We expect that data to be submitted for all official grading periods throughout the entire school year. LEAs identify CTE participants by submitting course completion records, the SCSE file. Any student enrolled in a course that's between 7,000 and 899 and is not a CTE completer is a participant. The SCTE records must only be submitted for CTE pathway completers who finish the capstone course in the current academic year. End of year one and end of year two have different deadlines. No amendment window for end of year two. So let's think about the future training, right? The end of year reporting certification trainings will begin on 4/23. Make sure you go to the CSIS training registration page to enroll in those courses. Pre-recorded trainings, which you are listening to now, are available for the entire academic year complement of trainings. So if you've stumbled upon this one, it was sent to you or recommended to you, you can go to the CSIS YouTube training channel and look at the 25-26 either advanced or end of year 1 or 2 reporting certification trainings. And then, of course, the May regionals. The May regionals are going to be focused on the 26-27 changes. When we think about training available year round, always send new users to the CALPADS User Manual. The end of year roadmap is there. There's a section for every relevant data type. You can see them listed. The CSIS YouTube training channel, we are trying to lead with self-paced training. So the CSIS YouTube training channel has expanded over the past year. Content has increased greatly. And then there's other information. So you have your flash updates, your CalPADS FAQs, the CTIG user guide, the connecting CalPADS to the dashboard handbook, several different resources that you can use to help you with your submission and certification of end of year two data. Okay, so if you're in need of support, I recommend using the CalPADS web form. This is your fastest means of support. Those of us on the service desk can respond to your ticket and track the history of your requests. You can also email us, and it does go to the service desk, but it's not associated to your previous inquiries or your LEA, and it's a little bit slower. We do have a phone call for 911 emergencies from driving home to work. It will be transcribed into a poor email. Then that poor email will be queued and sent to the service desk. So there's multiple layers of delay. You can call us, but we recommend the web form. If not the web form, the email. And then there are a couple of listservs. The CSIS FCMAT listserv is great. It allows you to connect with other members in the field who may have your same student information system and special education system. If they're in your county, they might have a similar student population. So they can really help you with the uniqueness of your data, right? If they have the same system and a similar student population, you may find some of the same scenarios and reporting requirements, also restraints or constraints, the same constraints. The CDE listserv is a single one-way channel of communication, typically in the form of a flash message, but sometimes LEAs get direct communications as well that are not flash messages. This is essential for anyone who has a CalPADS account. You should be on the listserv. So when official documentation is provided from the CDE, you have directly into your email inbox. Of course, we always like to conclude training with the heartfelt thank you. We appreciate everything you do for your LEA, everything you do for your students. We thank you for your participation and learning efforts.